Yeah.
Hi, my name is Emily Elliott, and I'm a reporter for East Lansing Info who's been covering issues related to East Lansing Public Schools for roughly the last 6 months. Today, I have with me Dr. Jane Turner, a local pediatrician and former school board trustee, and Mr. Gregory Hess, one of the candidates for school board. So, without further ado, I'll jump in and ask the first question. If you were elected to the school board, you would have to deal with a major public health crisis. Talk about how you see yourself handling this as a board member in terms of decision making.
Well, I think, you know, um, I think you need to congratulate, first of all, the people who've already been dealing with this. I'd be coming in at a time when a lot of decisions have been made and a lot of research done. For me, my background's in technology, and I know technology has played a very large part in finding options for school districts to deal with this. I think I could play an important part in that. I think that most of the institutions dealing with this are trying to be science guided as best they can. And again, I think background as a scientist, I could provide assistance there. I could be a value in that. But I think in the end, what I've seen from the current board is a collaboration and a unity. And I think when things are very difficult like they are now, I think people have to work toward that, because I think it helps send the right message and the right reassurance to people who, I'm a parent. I think a lot of parents out there, there's there's not always a right answer. There's just a right answer for a community. And I think finding that answer is the way to go.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch themes now,
Sure.
and it's about equity and inclusion. The district has identified equity and inclusion as an important goal and has pursued this by developing new handbook policies and making plans to make the faculty better represent the diversity of the student body. Talk about how you see this issue.
I see that. I mean, I think I've read through the current handbooks and practices, and I think that they've taken some really good efforts there. I think the efforts like this have a difficulty in implementation, not because of spirit or intention, but because there's only so much turnover, right, in a school district, and in a school district like this, you actually demographically will see a bigger turnover in the student population than you will the teacher population from generation to generation. So I think it creates a little bit of a moving target, and that's not a bad thing. I think that a school district has to keep in mind the demographics of the people that they're teaching, and I think as students come to school, they've got to feel that they're in a school that's a part of their community. And I think the only way to really do that is to include everyone fairly from the community in the leadership in the school, in the instruction at the school, in the school board itself. I think need to all play a part in that. And that means that you have to constantly self-reevaluate, and you have to constantly self-measure how you're doing. I think a lot of these initiatives start and you run into issues of turnover, you run into issues of longevity, and changing demographics, and they begin to falter. And I think people just have to be okay with remeasuring and recommitting themselves to the effort as it goes on, because I can't imagine in my lifetime it's an effort that's going to come to an end, to be honest with you. I think you just have to, it's something that has to be part of the work that you do for your career, and you have to be okay with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Switching gears a little bit, how do you understand the role of a trustee in relationship to the district administration, and what do you see as your chief responsibilities in this area?
I think my opinion of a trustee is that, it's this really important position in the sense that it gives the community a way to, it provides leadership, but provides leadership sounds like you come in and you are telling experts what to do. And most of the expertise is not in the trustees. Most of the expertise is going to be in the leadership of the schools. So I think a trustee's job is to be this important part of the community that listens to the expertise that's there in the school and the leadership that's there in the school, but also because they're part of the community, understands the needs and what the community needs, and they provide that bridge between the two. So, in a technical standpoint, right, you're providing things like financial oversight, you're providing oversight into the hiring practices, you're providing oversight into the care packages and the benefits packages for the teachers. There's a lot of very important things that you do, but in the end, all of those things come back to this kind of bridge between the leadership of the school and the community of the people that attend and their children go to the school. And I think that's what a trustee's job is to make sure that the goals and the direction the school is going from a fairly high level align with the goals of the community that they serve.
Okay, thank you. And that kind of leads, the next question is related. It has to do with all that you have to learn. As a trustee, you'll have to quickly learn a new set of laws, policies, and protocols. How will you approach bringing yourself up to speed?
You've got to do the work. I don't think there's any substitute for it. In the field that I've been in information technology, I've been part of different organizations and different initiatives that required that kind of learning. So to get your secret clearance, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you've got to know. To get, in the energy industry, they've got the NERC SIP rules, and then there's FERPA for the higher educational institutions. All of them come with this kind of relearning that you have to do fairly quickly to really know. So the technology is the baseline, but the processes and the procedures around the environment you're in become very important. And I think you have to do the work. I think there's people that have been around, like yourself. I hate to say Jane. I want to say Dr. Turner. But there's people been around like yourself that, that I think I'm going to have to lean on and are going to have to help me, because good ideas and good intentions will run up against formal process and procedures. And if you haven't taken the time to learn them, you frustrate yourself and you frustrate your colleagues, and you get little done. I mean, so you've got to work in the manner of the system and the way the system can accept change and accept your input. And you've got to learn that. There's no substitute for that. And so I think I'd have to rely on the people that have been through it to help me through it. And for me, we used to have what we called the peanut butter sandwich approach. And that was when we would put in a new system, we'd take the application developers into a room and we'd say, okay, we want you to program for us how to make a peanut butter sandwich. And it was because we've all hopefully made a peanut butter sandwich. It was something we could all relate to, but it would get us familiar with their process and familiar with the ways they did it in a way that our brains could understand. And so I think the people that have been there before would have to teach me how to make a peanut butter sandwich.
Okay. Yeah, when I joined the board quite a few years ago, I found that the Michigan Association of School Boards offered trainings for new school board members.
Oh,
Would that be of interest to you?
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
anything like that to get my feet wet would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Our next question is, what programs at East Lansing Public Schools, educational or otherwise, would you like to see the district devote more resources to, and how might you make that happen?
There's probably two, one generic and one specific. I think generically, I've got a real passion for STEM, and there's been tremendous amount of work already done with the introduction of STEM, both earlier and both more approachably to be more inclusive of the student body. But I'd like to see that expanded a little bit. If you look at kind of the latest information that's coming out on that, there's been like tremendous progress made, but there's some work to be done. And I want to just make sure that work gets done. More specifically, one thing that was brought to my attention early on that I wasn't aware of, but East Lansing is one of the schools, and there's a lot of them, that hasn't fully complied with the Anti-Bullying Act that was passed maybe 9 years ago. They've done a lot of work, but they're not yet in full compliance. I think there's just a little bit left to do, but I think that's a very important aspect now, maybe more than at other times, to make sure that we align with that. The intent of the law was one of those few moments of kind of bipartisan agreement. Like, nobody wants their kid bullied, nobody wants their kid's voice suppressed, and they passed the law, but maybe again with the best of intentions, but not with the best of follow through, and they kind of dumped it on the school districts. I think the school district should pick that up and kind of complete that work and make sure they're fully compliant with it.
Okay, thank you. It sounds like you've thought quite a bit about that, what needs to happen. Next question is about engaging with parents. How would you like to engage with parents, including those who are uninformed or who may be informed but disagree with you?
That's a great question. I think I can't imagine a candidate saying, well, I don't want to engage parents, right? I mean, all of us are going to say we're going to engage parents, and I think we ought to do. I think that's true. There's, in the order of importance, though, engaging parents that disagree with me is very important, and engaging parents who are acting on the wrong information is very, very important. I think a lot of the engagement needs to listen. And I think if we can't bring ourselves to listen, and that's specifically to the parents that disagree with us, I don't know how, as a community, that couldn't work. It can't work unless we're all listening to each other. So I think you have to listen. But in that listening, I think you can find, and I don't know there's that many, because this is it's a bright community. But I think you'll find these parents out there that are acting with the best of intents, and I think most parents do, but they're acting with the best of intents on some bad information. So once we're done listening, we should have an opportunity to address bad information in the community. And some of that bad information, if we're really listening, might come from us. And we have to be at least open to that idea. I mean, all of us like to think that we've done the homework and that I couldn't possibly be out here pushing for something that's based on something bad, but I have to be open to that, because if I'm not, then most of my listening becomes that I'm just listening for people that agree with me, because if I'm right, why would I listen to someone who's wrong? So I think listening has become a very difficult thing maybe in the last few years, and I'd like to see more of that, but I don't want just listening in itself isn't that helpful. We've got to be prepared to refute bad information, and we've got to be prepared to address within ourselves where we've taken a position and haven't evaluated it the way we should have.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Great. Well, we have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. So if you have anything you'd like to say, a statement, or if you'd like to address a topic that we haven't brought up in the questions, but you'd like more attention brought to, you have the floor to do so.
Well, thank you. First, I want to thank you guys for taking your time and energy to do this and get information out about the candidates. I have no prepared statement. I work 2 jobs. I'm attending school. This is something that's a priority for me, but I have no political training at all. What I see in the research that I've done, because I've got a daughter that started kindergarten last year, and I'm very fortunate because she started kindergarten at a great school with truly amazing teachers. But what my research has shown me, to my surprise, is that if you want your child to do well, you have to have the best teachers. And there's a lot of things that can go into that, but I feel like sometimes we almost distract ourselves with those other things. And so for me, my view of the most important thing I can do on a board of education would be to keep a teacher's first perspective as part of the culture in the school system. Both getting the best teachers, but getting the best teachers is step A. They've got to remain the best teachers, and they've got to remain fulfilled enough to stay at the school where they are the best teacher. And those things, that longevity of those teachers and that caretaking of those teachers has to be part of the culture at the school, which maybe it already is because the teachers there have been fantastic. But I view it as so important that would be my primary purpose. And I think if anything is going to affect the life of our kids at a school, it's going to be the quality of their teacher, period. And if we can keep our eye on that, we'll have a really good school system.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yes,
you very
thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
This has been very helpful.
Yes.
Well, thanks.
Quite a bit
I
about
hope so.
your interests and your values, and thank you.
Thank you both very much. Is there anything else I can do for you, or you probably got to go to